Welcome to the Call to Worship podcast, where we look at all 188 Bible verses about worship. I'm your host, Craig Michael Davis, and I want to invite you to join me on my journey of worshiping God daily for 1 year. Over the next year, we'll look at all 188 Bible verses on worship. I promise you that if you stick with me on this journey, God will radically transform your life. Today we are looking at Genesis 24:26. The man bowed his head and worshiped the Lord. This verse may seem simple at first glance, but it carries deep significance. To fully grasp its meaning, let's dive into the context and explore how this moment can inspire us and call us into deeper worship. In Genesis 24, we meet Eliezer, Abraham's servant, on a mission to find a wife for Isaac, Abraham's son, who we just learned about in the last passage. After a long journey, he arrives at Rebekah's home and witnesses a miraculous answer to his prayer. When Rebekah offers water to Eliezer and his camels, he sees this as a clear sign from God. In verse 26, Eliezer's response is profound. He bows down and worships the Lord. This act of worship is more than just a physical gesture. In fact, it signifies profound gratitude and reverence. Eliezer recognizes that God has guided his steps and provided an answer to his prayer in a remarkable way. Worship is illustrated in Eliezer's responses, deeply connected to recognizing God's hand in our lives. It's about acknowledging his guidance, provision, and faithfulness. Whether it's through bowing down in prayer, singing hymns, or serving others, worship needs to become our response to experiencing God's goodness. Notice that verse 26 said that Eliezer bowed his head and worshiped. It didn't read, the man worshiped the Lord. So what is so significant about posture in worship? Why even spin the ink pointing to the man's posture? Well, it's not a waste of ink. Our bodily posture in worship is a direct mirror of our heart posture towards God. The reason that Eliezer bowed his head was because he had a deep reverence and respect towards God. So ask yourself, what is your natural bodily posture in worship? Do you find yourself putting your hands in your pocket or crossing your arms during worship? Your natural body posture in worship may clue you into how close your heart is to God in this very moment. But you know what? You do not have to stay there. You can choose to change your heart posture towards God. Like Eliezer, we encounter moments when we see God's hand clearly at work in our lives. It might be through answered prayers or unexpected blessings or even physical healing. How do you respond? Are you ready for a heart check? Have you ever looked down on someone for dancing in worship or laying prostrate on the floor? Well, 2 Samuel 6:16 says, as the ark of the Lord came into the city of David, Michal, the daughter of Saul, looked out of the window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart. And skipping down to verse 20, and David returned to bless his household, but Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, how the king of Israel honored himself today, uncovering himself today before the eyes of his servants, female servants, as one of the vulgar fellows shamelessly uncovers himself. And David said to Michal, it was before the Lord who chose me above your father and above all his house to appoint me as a prince over Israel, the people of the Lord. And I will celebrate before the Lord. Skipping down to verse 23, and Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death. Ouch. Well, don't be like Michal. In fact, you may want to take some time today before you worship to repent. Ask God to search you and reveal anything in your heart where you've been like Michal, judging others for fully worshiping God with everything they have. Our worship can and should take many forms. As you reflect on Genesis 24:26, let it inspire you to worship God fully with your whole heart. Take some time today to evaluate your posture in worship, then fill in the response question in your devotional. How do you prepare your heart and mind for worship? Then find a quiet place to worship God on your own. Once you're done, make sure to fill in a bubble on the 366 day of worship habit tracker on the first page of the devotional. If you still need a copy of Call to Worship, I'll leave a link in the description so you can pick one up today and join us in our 1 year journey of worshiping God daily.